10 races into the season, and we stopped at Talladega Super Speedway, and it did not disappoint. We got a lot of stuff to talk about from NASCAR's biggest and baddest racetrack, which provided us a 9th different winner of the season and a veteran driver, making a return to Talladega victory lane. Now, this race review is going to be a little bit different, mainly because there was not a lot of, okay, let's be honest, Talladega, almost every lap something happens, so it's really hard to really go through what took place during the race, because then I'll probably be here for 2 hours talking. So we're just going to talk about the main points. So let's start off right at the beginning. Toyota, every single main Toyota driver, Hamlin, Truex, Bell, Bubba Wallace, as well as Harrison Burton, who was making his NASCAR Cup Series debut, they all started at the rear of the field except for Kyle Busch after making unapproved adjustments. And this was very odd to see. Right away, as soon as the race began, Larson immediately reported that his temps were very high, like above 350 degrees. Car pulls on the pit road. Obviously, the hood is up to check the temperatures and make sure the engine's okay. They send him back out, and after a couple laps later, he blows up, and I think 6 laps into it, Larson's day is already done. This is another reason why we need to bring back practice, but anyways, we move. Now, stage 1, surprisingly, was very exciting. I expected the stage to be more calm, single file racing, not much going on. And while that was the case at the beginning, later on, halfway into the stage, we saw a lot of already side-by-side, 3-wide racing, different leaders coming up through the ranks, like Bubba Wallace, who started at the back, was already up to the front leading laps. The Toyota driver showed a lot of muscle. Ford, it was really Ford and Toyota that showed their strengths. Not really much of the Chevrolet came, even from Hendrick Motorsports. Not much from Chevrolet. It was really Ford and Toyota that brought in the fire in stage 1. And then I guess you could say the big one takes place. I don't know if you can really call it a big one. I think this was the biggest crash that took place today. 2 laps ago, coming to the end of the stage, Ricky Stenhouse sends a huge shove to Denny Hamlin, gets him all squirrely. That sends Hamlin into Logano. Logano then gets hit by Stenhouse, and that causes Logano to go up in the air, lands hard on his roof. Luckily, no cars hit him, unlike the Newman incident last year at Daytona. And the car comes back to rest on its wheels, sitting in the middle of 3 and 4, which brought out the first caution. I should say the first real caution of the race. And this was an incredible, it reminded me a lot of, I believe it was Brendan Gaughan's crash. I think it was 2019 in the fall at Talladega, except he did a full 360 landing on his wheels, unlike Logano, who landed on his roof. There was a shot from Bubba's onboard. Absolutely incredible. You need to see this. Look at this. Logano is literally flipping right in front of him. Somehow, Bubba, at the last second, turns probably as hard as he can to the left to try and avoid him. Barely gets by. Now, he did get a little bit of damage. I believe Logano's spoiler hits the windshield of Bubba's car, but it really didn't affect Bubba's race machine. It didn't affect him aero-wise or speed-wise. He kept going, and it was still very competitive after that incident, but I was shocked that Bubba did not receive any more damage. I really thought he should be on the tow truck and he should be going home, not racing, competing for the race lead later on in the race. But that did bring out the end of stage number 1. Matt DiBenedetto was out in front. He also had a really fast car, because Ryan Blaney in 2nd, Elliott 3rd, Hamlin 4th, Byron in 5th, 6th, Chris Buescher 7th, Alex Bowman, Christopher Bell in 8th, Kevin Harvick 9th, and Michael McDowell rounds out the top 10. Now, stage 2 is going to be in the same way. We're only going to be showing and really talking about a lot of the highlights that took place in that stage. First of all, we got to talk about this incredible save by Kyle Busch. DiBenedetto goes from the top to the bottom to try and halt Kyle Busch's momentum, make contact. Kyle Busch somehow saves it, sliding below the yellow line. Keeps it going, no caution, no car spinning, they keep on racing. A little bit later on, Kurt Busch reports a mechanical problem. Turned out to be a very fiery problem, as smoke and fire poured out of his number 1 machine. He was able to keep going. They fixed the mechanical issue, but that ultimately, effective immediately, ended his shots at winning. And then on lap 93, this is when pit stops were taking place. And obviously, when you're at Talladega, you come in groups, really. The Chevrolet groups, or the drivers, they pit. Then the Ford camp pits, and then Toyota pits. Well, on lap 93, Toyota drivers were all pitting. Joe Gibbs, 2311 Racing, all those Toyota teams, they all pitted together. Hamlin was out in front of that group. You could tell right away. When Hamlin was coming on the pit road, he entered in with way too much speed. Not only that, not only did Hamlin had too much speed, he also went through his pit box. So on top of that, he got busted for speeding. Didn't get a penalty for going through his pit box because he backed it up and they worked on the car. But oddly enough, When Hamlin came back on pit road to serve his penalty, he got busted again for speeding. So he got 2 speeding penalties. One for, by himself for trying to come onto pit road, and another speeding penalty after he was penalized. It seems like in life, 3 things are certain: death, taxes, and Hamlin speeding on pit road. Because I think this is like the 40th time he's been caught speeding, I swear. Every single race, or at least almost every single race, Hamlin is speeding. Now, even though Hamlin was speeding, he had a very fast car and was able to work his way back up. And he was actually in the free pass position. But what was oddly enough about this was that Hamlin was in the mix of everything. He was in the middle of the pack, pushing cars, being up in the mix with the lead lap cars, which didn't make sense. You're the lead lap car. You're on the free pass. Not like you're fighting against anyone. Stay back, and be there at the finish. There was even a lot of moments where Bubba, who was the leader at the time, coming to the end of stage 2, was throwing some pretty risky blocks, let's just say the least, including one on his team owner, Denny Hamlin, which caused for a little bit of a moment. Nothing happened, but still, there were a lot of moments that just didn't make sense. Hamlin, why are you racing these guys? Stay back. Come back during stage 3 when you're going to be back on the lead lap. Unfortunately, Hamlin did not do that. He was still in the mix. And I believe, once again, with 2 to go in stage number 2, Hamlin in the middle of the pack on the outside lane gets a shot from Truex, sends Hamlin into the wall. Truex spins, collecting the other 3 Hendrick drivers of Elliott, Byron, and Bowman to bring out another caution. And that would ultimately end stage number 2 because of that crash. Bubba Wallace would go on to get his first stage win of his Cup Series career. Second would be Keselowski. Third, Kyle Busch. Fourth, Michael McDowell. Fifth, Ryan Blaney. Sixth is Ryan Preece. Seventh, Stenhouse. Eighth, Buescher. Bell ninth, and Austin Dillon rounds out the top 10. Again, it just didn't make sense why Hamlin was being so aggressive. Stay back. You're not going to win this stage. You're going to get the free pass. Stage 3, you can get back in the mix, but unfortunately, Hamlin didn't do that, and because of that, he would end up finishing, I believe, outside the top 30. I think 32nd. We'll check in the results in a little bit, but ultimately a wasted opportunity for Hamlin because he had a really good car and he could have been a threat to win that race had he not been involved in that accident. So stage 3 begins, and surprisingly, it was much more calm compared to the events of stage 1 and stage 2, at least at the beginning of the race. Mostly single file, very calm, very relaxed, single file racing with the Ford camp, of course, taking up, all the top spots, 6 Fords in the top 6. Basically, anytime the Fords are out in front, 9 times out of 10, you can guarantee a freight train's coming. Now, stage number 3, it was actually Ryan Blaney that was out in front when it began. Unfortunately, Blaney picked up some debris, large piece of bare bond tape right in the front of his car. Obviously, that's going to cause the temperatures to overheat, and Blaney had to back off and slide behind Eric Almirola. Almirola would then take over. Problem was that Almirola, it was a bit tight on fuel. Everyone else was going half throttle. Almirola, being the leader, was the only car out in front, or at least on the racetrack, that was going full throttle. And when you do that, you're burning more fuel. And when you have more than 50 to go at a 2.66 mile track and you're going full throttle, that is not too good from a fuel perspective. Now, under 45 to go, an inside lane would start to form. This time, the Chip Ganassi drivers were leading the mix. Chastain was leading, behind him was Kurt Busch, but Kurt was multiple laps down, but he still wanted to help his teammate, which, that's good. That's a good teammate. But yeah, then Ross Chastain would take over as the race leader with Kyle Busch, who was behind Kurt, being positioned in second. Then with 34 laps to go, pit stops take place, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., another driver that a lot of people expected to be a threat for the race win, his race ended on that pit stop sequence. Coming off of turn number 4, Quin Houff gets a bump from Anthony Alfredo that sends him into Stenhouse, and then Stenhouse goes spinning, or at least sliding, to the inside wall, ending his race. Didn't bring out a caution, but still a tough break for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Again, with how Talladega is, pit stops once again, it was Chevys, Toyotas, and then the Fords. After that, with around 25 to go, 18 cars would then be in the mix, at least in the lead draft. Now, there were some really close moments, a lot of bumping and beating and on the back end of these race cars, and you got to be careful with how you line them up. You don't want them to get them sideways like what happened with Hamlin twice. There was a lot of sort of hold your breath type moments, squirrely drivers coming off of the corners, a little bit of left and right to trying to save the car. It was fun, but it was very intense to watch. And I genuinely thought that we're going to see a crash happen in the next few laps. Well, we did, but not with the lead draft. The caution will come out with 18 to go. Quinn Houff was shown, hitting the wall in the back straightaway and stopping. That sort of calmed everything down. When a restart came out with 12 to go, you had Erik Jones, who was in the mix under 25 to go, and Matt DiBenedetto, the stage 1 winner, now back out in front. But a single file lane slowly started to form because, of course, the 4 drivers were out in front. Then a very important moment happened. Martin Truex Jr., who was already caught up in that accident, right before the end of stage number 2, reports a right rear tire going down. He then pits, comes back out, but then the camera cuts to him slow on the tri-oval, smoking, and then all of a sudden the tire comes off, or at least the outer layer of the tire comes off, and is now sitting in the middle of the racetrack. And you can't have a massive piece of debris like that sitting in the middle of a track with cars going at 200 miles an hour. Clearly it's a safety hazard, and NASCAR is forced to throw out a caution for debris with just 4 laps to go. Then in NASCAR overtime on the final lap, Matt DiBenedetto jumps to the high lane to block Blaney. That allows Brad Keselowski, gives clear way on the inside lane with help from fellow Ford drivers Michael McDowell and Kevin Harvick, and Keselowski would jump out to the lead, giving DiBenedetto little to no help. Tyler Reddick tried to make a run, but jumps to the high lane. Blaney blocks him. So now DiBenedetto has 0 help at all, giving Keselowski a clear vantage point to try and take home his 6th Talladega win. But Michael McDowell is going to give him a run from his money. Harvick jumps to the high lane to try and make a run, but nothing takes place. Jones is too far back. Then coming to the tri-oval, Byron gives a good push to Michael McDowell, jumps to the high lane. Keselowski holds his line. McDowell's lane stalls, and Brad Keselowski would hold off Byron to win at Talladega for the 6th time in his career, with Chastain and Erik Jones spinning coming to the line. Now, like I said, this would be Brad Keselowski's 6th career Talladega win, tying him for, I believe, 2nd on the all-time win list for most Talladega wins with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon. This would be his first win since Richmond in the fall of 2020, and his first Talladega win since the fall of 2017. So it's been a while since we've seen the number 2 car at basically in victory lane at any super speedway racetrack. Let's take a look at the official results. Brad Keselowski wins. We're going to go through the entire list instead of just the top 20 with a few extra drivers. So Keselowski wins. Byron in 2nd. McDowell, another top 3 run for him, wins the Daytona 500. The next super speedway gets a top 3 finish. Great run for him. I should say with Byron, he was involved in that crash with Hamlin and Truex, rebounds to nearly win the race. 4th is Kevin Harvick. 5th DiBenedetto. Once again, this reminds me a lot of last year at Talladega in the fall. DiBenedetto was leading at the final lap, ends up not winning the race when they come back the next time by. Just the amount of times DiBenedetto has been close to winning and still hasn't gotten the job done. It's tough to see. But how about 6th place, Kaz Grala? I think this ties his best Cup finish. I think he finished 6th when he took over for Austin Dillon at Daytona last year. Actually, just looking at it now, this is his best finish. His previous best was 7th, not 6th at the Daytona Road Course. So hey, great run for Kaz Grala and that Kaulig Racing team. Remember, they won the Xfinity race yesterday with Jeb Burns. So overall, a fantastic weekend for that organization. 7th is Tyler Reddick with teammate Austin Dillon in 8th. Blaney 9th, Custer and Briscoe 10th and 11th. Alfredo in 12th. 13th, Newman. 14th, Priest. Almirola in 15th, Chastain 16th, Bell, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, and Harrison Byrne. They round out the top 20. Chris Buescher, Corey LaJoy, Daniel Suarez. He was in the mix. If you didn't see it, when the white flag came out, got a tap from a car behind him. That got him all out of shape, and he fell off like a rock to the back of the pack. 24, Chase Elliott. 25th, Michael B.J. McLeod. 26, J.J. Yaley. 27th, Erik Jones. Ware, Hill, Haley, Truex, Hamlin, Stenhouse, Joey Gase, Kurt Busch, Josh Bilicki, Quinn Houff, Alex Bowman, Joey Logano, and Kyle Larson. That is your 40-car field after the conclusion of today's race. My thoughts on this race, it was Talladega, so it was very entertaining to watch, especially with this type of Cup package. And the reason why I bring up this package, it's important why I talk about the package, because of 39th place finisher Joey Logano. He gave an interview after he was released from the Infield Care Center that got some people thinking. Take a listen.
And it was a huge hit on the roof for Joey Logano, one of the tallest drivers in the field. Joey, what goes through your mind when you see those replays there?
I guess I don't know exactly what to think. It's a product of this racing, and on one hand, I'm so proud to drive a Cup car that is safe, that I can go through a crash like that and get out and speak about it. And one hand I'm mad about being in the crash, the other hand I'm just happy I'm alive. On the other hand, I think, when are we going to stop? Because this is dangerous doing what we're doing. I got a roll bar in my head. You know what I mean? That's not okay. I'm one hit away from the same situation Ryan Newman just went through. I just don't feel like that's acceptable. A lot of us do his big spoiler and these big runs, the pushing and all that. It's no one's fault, right? I mean, Denny's trying to go and 47's trying to go. It's a product of this racing. We have to fix it, though, because someone already got hurt and we're still doing it, so that's not real smart. So, but at the same time, I'm appreciative of driving a car that's this safe and appreciate what Team Penske's done for the safety of these cars as well, that I can live to talk about it and go again. So I got lucky I didn't get hit while I was in the air.
So yeah, he's talking about how basically the racing product at Talladega needs to change. And I do find a bit hypocritical that it comes from Joey Logano, because he has been the main cause for a lot of these big accidents in recent years at Talladega because of his unnecessarily sometimes aggressive blocking. He has, so I do find it a bit hypocritical, but at the same time, I get what he's saying. I feel like when this package, came out, the bumps, the runs have been bigger than ever. The spoiler has been its highest as it's ever been at a super speedway track. And lately we've seen cars it's been easier for cars to get up in the air. 2019, Ryan Preece, or I think it was Ryan Preece or Chris Buescher in the 37 car, nearly went over. Same thing with Parker Kligerman. Brendan Gaughan did go over. 2019 also at Talladega in the spring with Kyle Larson, went over. How about, again, he brought up with the Newman incident. Went over and got hit, by Corey LaJoie that sent him to the hospital. I do believe him when he says that lately it's been it's been a lot easier for cars to get up in the air because of this big spoiler. I personally like to lean more towards how super speedway races was run during the mid 2000s, from 2001, 2004, 5, 6. It was not as, I want to say, entertaining or as, eventful, but you still got some good racing, and you didn't see cars get up into the air as often. Even, during the early 2010s, with the when we had the spoiler with that you could lock bumpers with. In 2010, I think you saw speeds just nearly get just above 200, if not around 190, 195. Now cars consistently go over 200, 202 miles an hour at some point. So I do get what he's saying, that the product might need to change from a safety point of view. I do agree with him on that. But at the same time, I think it also comes down to the drivers, and you just need to calm down. Another reason why I don't like stages in super speedway racing, because all it does is it forces drivers to become aggressive. Same thing with the playoffs. I don't like to bring it in, but the playoffs is going to force drivers to get aggressive, and things can go wrong. I think the stage racing, contributes greatly to, accidents happening on super speedway racing. I think even the drivers themselves. Logano's a perfect example. He makes some dumb moves that causes these big wrecks. Stenhouse is another driver. I think a lot of times also, you have to look at the driver and think, it's a 500-mile race. Why are y'all racing so hard on lap 50? It's like, calm down. So I get it. I get his side from one point of view, but at the same time, it's almost like, because Stenhouse was really hitting Hamlin very hard to try and move up a few spots. That's what caused this whole crash. So I don't know. It's a weird situation, but I do think maybe NASCAR needs to look at it just a little bit from the package, from a safety point of view. I don't think it's a problem, but I understand why the drivers might feel that. But at the same time, the drivers got to stop being so aggressive, with how they race and how they block and the bumping, especially when it's not even halfway to a race. But that's all I got to say. Overall, I thought this race was very entertaining. I really do enjoy it. I feel for JettMDK, man. So close once again. Had he not left that inside lane open coming to the final lap, who knows what could have happened. But yeah, very excited with that finish. Very happy. The next race will be at Kansas, one of my favorite mile and a half racetracks. Looking forward to that. Tell me what are your guys' thoughts on this race in the comment section down below. Did you like it? Did you not? But until next time, my name is JettMDK. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Congratulations to Brad Keselowski, your winner at Talladega.